Hey gang, Dallas here with Privateer Press. Last time we stitched up some retribution with some Mage Hunter Green fabric. Today, we're gonna layer on some leather with straps and pouches. So, let's get started. To paint our khaki drab, we're gonna use a base coat of battle-dressed green. I'm just gonna pull some of that out, once again on our palette. I'm just gonna grab several big dollops of this. So I have plenty to use for the whole process. And carefully close my lid so it doesn't dry up. And we're just gonna base coat, load our brush, give a little twist, sharpen the point. And we're just gonna base coat all this leather strapping and pouching around his chest here with our battle dress green. Once again, I'm just using the tip of the brush, just getting that color on there, nice and quick, and just continue base coating. Nice thin layers. Sometimes you gotta do two just to get nice coverage. There we go, a couple thin layers. And we got some coverage on our little belt here. All right, for our first layer of shadows, we're going to take some of our sanguine base and mix it into our battle dress green. And what this does is it creates a nice brown, this battle dress green and sanguine. And it helps unify the colors and ties it back to that Mage Hunter green shadow. Gives it an overall feel of cohesiveness on the miniature. And I'm just going to put this shadow in. Load my brush with the tip. And just start shading. Let's loosen that up a little bit. Make it a little thin. Not quite a wash consistency here. I'm just going to then use my second brush to kind of just push it around and keep it off the upper surfaces. See how this is working? Just a thin paint. And I just use that second clean brush to kind of guide the paint where I want it. Just don't overload it. Take your time. Just getting a nice color on there. Just tying it all together. I'm working really fast and loose. Just getting some shadow in there. That red, brown. That's what I like to call like a controlled wash almost. A lot of times washing, you just kind of blurk it on there, kind of go. This I'm tapping it into the shadows and then using my clean brush to kind of guide it, control where it lays. There we go. Now we can start to see the definition on that leather. We can refine this further by making a deep shadow. And for our deep shadow, we're just going to make an equal part 1:1, sanguine base and umbral umber. Once again, this just becomes a really rich brown. Let's go 2 drops of each so I have plenty of paint to work with. Just a touch of water to loosen it up. Now we got this really rich red brown. We're just going to paint this into the deepest recesses. Just kind of create the lines of the leather, especially this area right here. I want to divide those elements, the pouch from the strap, and just paint in the deepest crevices and underneath the straps and that little stitch line. It doesn't take much to give it definition. If you want a little texture on your belt, kind of do a couple little tiny lines right along the edge of this belt, going from the outside in. You don't want too many. You just want to give it a little hint of texture, old leather or whatever. Just make sure everything is defined. There we go. Now we can move on to our highlighting. For highlighting, we're just going to take some rucksack tan, which I love this color. A dollop of that. And go ahead and grab some of our battle dress green. Dollop of that. Dollop is technical for 1-1. We're just going to start our first highlight. This is just going to be on those upper surfaces, like the raised part of these belts. Once again, just using the tip of my brush, letting the paint flow. Let the brush do its job. Top parts of this right here. I lost a little bit of my shadow there, so I've got plenty of paint. Let's go ahead and block that shadow back in there. Don't want to lose that. Need that for contrast. I'm going to put a little texture on this belt over here. It's very prominent, so just going to touch the edge. I need to go back a couple times. Get some paint. There we go. A little texture adds visual interest. I like going over this twice usually. The first layer lays it on there and then it's a little thin because I work in really thin paints. And then kind of come back and redefine it just to make sure everything pops. So when you're painting, sometimes the paint gets all clunked up. And since my thumb is right here, instead of going back to the palette, I can just kind of spin it on my thumb, and break that paint, let it flow again. It's like my pencil sharpener. It's right there. It's always ready to work. All right, we've got some really nice definition on this, but we're gonna make it pop one more time. So we're gonna go with a final highlight. We're gonna take some underbelly blue and grab some of that and add that to our first highlight. Once again, this makes a nice desaturated blue-green color. And it's not really cool, but it's much cooler than our shadow. So that gives it that contrast. Just lets the eye read it. And for this, we're just going to keep this on the very upper surfaces. Like on the upper rim. And this is very minimal. So this is a little bright. I don't really like this. I'm just add a little bit more of that battle dress green back into our highlight color. Let's try that. We can paint right over this. This is no big deal. That looks like a way better highlight color. Things like that just happen sometimes. Like you're like, oh, that looks like a pretty good color. And you put it on and you're like, nope. That needs to change a touch. That's okay. And let's add some more of that little texture dots right to the upper surface of that belt. Right below the stitch line, very carefully. There we go. All right, let's throw on some black and frame this painting up. That looks perfect. With it all framed up in black, you can really see the effect of our khaki leather on our Retribution Arcanist. Straps, we painted some. Next time, we're gonna dive right into our new faction and get the Grimkin ready for the harvest. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more videos, check out the links below for more in this series, and additional information on the P3 Hobby line. Let's just dry read it. Hey gang, Das here with Privateer Press. Last time we Mage Hunter greened. Today we're gonna leather.